Thank you everybody for joining us here at electroCore's channel. Just want to let you all know what we're going to be doing with this new and exciting video series. We're going to be talking about the company. We're going to be talking about the industry. We'll be answering any of your guys' questions, so don't be afraid to send them over to us. And we're of course going to be introducing members of the team. So who better to kick us off with video number one than co-founder and chief medical officer at electroCore, Dr. Peter Staats. Peter, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Michael. Thanks for the opportunity to be with you today.
Yeah, very glad to have you on. And I'm curious, what I really like to do is talk about your past a little bit. Let's paint a picture. So how did you get involved in this industry? You're 3 decades of experience. What motivated you to get into it and stay in it?
Well, a little bit of chance and a little bit of good luck, I suppose. Many years ago, I was at Johns Hopkins and I started the division of pain medicine. And at that time, spinal cord stimulation and the use of electricity was really at the very beginning phases of our development and our use more broadly. And I became very interested in how electricity can control pain, and then subsequently, how it controls disease. In the early 2000s, I was president of what's called the North American Neuromodulation Society. And I really took an active, thoughtful approach for the society to try to morph it from being just a pain organization to a platform organization to understand how electricity evolves and affects many different diseases. So that was really my DNA and where I was coming from as an implanter, as a neuromodulator, as someone who wanted to really think broadly about electricity and disease. And then in the late 1990s, my son had peanut allergies. And I was looking for a way to use electricity to block airway reactivity. And fortuitously, I met the other main co-founder of our company, JP Erico, who had a very similar interest. And he got his interest from studying and understanding the Russian literature about the vagus nerve. And together we put together some ideas and came up with a strategy for assessing the use of electricity on the vagus nerve to block airway reactivity. And the rest is somewhat history.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, you're giving us a little bit of an origin story. So tell me then about, aside from being the co-founder, you're also the chief medical officer. So tell me what that role really entails there at electroCore. Like, what do you handle on the day-to-day?
Well, boy, there's a lot of different things that come under my offices. So first and foremost, it's medical education. We try to educate broadly to physicians around the vagus nerve, what it does, and how our technology can be of help. Second is I consider myself the advocate for the patient in the organization, meaning we try to think about everything that we do is about patient care and how do we optimize the patient experience and improve outcomes. Again, I was a treating physician for more than 25 years, and I consider this an extension of my clinical practice. Instead of treating one patient at a time, by being involved in electroCore, I have the ability to treat many different patients with our acute therapies that we have today. A third area that follows, squarely in our domain is the consideration of what the vagus nerve can do beyond our current areas of interest. So, of course, we have multiple different FDA approvals and clearances, or clearances as the terminology goes, but our promise is so much greater. We have promises from everything going on in acute stroke to considerations around Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease and post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's not that we've tapped into solving all of these diseases. We've tapped into the vagus nerve, which is incredibly powerful in controlling and a modulator of disease.
Yeah, it makes sense. So while you guys are essentially focused on what you're working on now, the potential here is pretty endless. And there's a lot of promising things that can kind of build out of this where you guys are now. I'm really excited to get into that. Like I said, next video, we'll do a more general overview of electroCore. I heard you had a little show and tell for us today as well, Peter.
Sure. So the device is a relatively small device. And what's really revolutionary about our little therapy, our little device right here, is that we've taken the need for surgery out of what was previously a surgical procedure. The way that we stimulate the vagus nerve is we place a little bit of conducting gel on these 2 points here. We apply it over the vagus nerve, which runs right with the carotid artery. We turn it on until we start to feel the lip pull a little bit. And that's all that's really involved in stimulating the vagus nerve. Prior to us doing this and us developing this approach with a non-invasive approach, if you really wanted to stimulate the vagus nerve, particularly in the neck, you had to do surgery. And so our key innovation is figuring out how to stimulate the vagus nerve non-invasively and to replace the need for surgery with a little device such as this, taking the power of the vagus nerve out of the hands of the surgeon, but into the hands of the patient.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It seems like it's significantly less. Surgery is an incredibly risky endeavor for anybody. Not something you should want to do. You shouldn't go into it lightly. So, Peter, I'm really excited to talk more about the company, but ending on a more personal note, what's the key message you want to get across people across this video series? What's the key takeaway?
Well, I think there's a few takeaways. Number one is we now have a strategy today that is a non-drug, non-opioid strategy that will help with one of the most debilitating problems known to man today, which is our debilitating headaches, either migraine or cluster headaches or paroxysmal hemicrania or hemicrania continuum. And it's an effective therapy with a very, very good safety profile. So today we have something that's available to patients. But also, I'm incredibly excited about helping patients who don't have great options today. Acute treatment of stroke, post-traumatic stress disorder, opioid use disorder are all right around the corner for us. And I'm really excited about the potential of our therapies for unmet medical need.
Wonderful. Well, Peter, we have a lot to talk about over the course of this. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you have any questions, which I'm sure you will, don't be afraid to join the conversation below. Leave what you got, and don't be afraid to visit the website. Peter, thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to the next one.
Michael, thanks a lot.